This is a lecture from Open Tuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
Finally, we look at marketing. Now, what is marketing? It's often bracketed with sales and marketing department. But the marketing activity is actually somewhat different. So let's contrast the marketing approach or marketing-led approach with some other approaches. First of all, a product-led approach. Imagine that you had a business started with by two friends. They did engineering at university, quite clever. They make an invention. They go into production. Their product is very good, but they are particularly turned on by the features of the product and its technical cleverness and so on. And it may indeed work well, but it may well be that the public isn't actually very interested in this fantastically well-made product. Or maybe they're interested in the product, but perhaps it's made too well, too many features, and therefore its price is too high. So the product-led company can make good products, it's just that they might not sell. We have a sales-led company, and the sales-led company is one which is a very high-powered sales team, where they are very skilled at selling you stuff you don't really want. So they have all sorts of methods to convince you that you should buy this product, even when really you don't need it, you don't want it, and almost to get rid of them, you signed a contract or you take some goods. Now that's not great either. It's hard to get repeat business from a sales-led company. They can eventually get very bad publicity if there's very high-pressured sales on people who are pressurized into buying products they neither want nor can afford. Marketing-led is quite different. What marketing-led does, it says, let's be humble about it. Let's not produce a product that's clever or a product that people might not want. Let's go out and see what people want. So we establish needs, establish consumer needs. This is done through market research. It doesn't have to be passive. You can go out and show them prototypes. You can ask them about features. Would you like to have that feature and so on? But we're going out and we're taking feedback from potential customers. And then what we do, based on what we've learned about our consumer preferences, we develop a product or products which suit their needs. Then if we stress the ability of this product to satisfy those needs, the product will almost sell itself, will kind of fly off the shelf, really, because there's been this perfect match between the product and what people want. And we know that you can easily see examples of tremendously successful products. If you take Apple iPhones, when a new iPhone is launched, there's usually a queue snaking around the block, queuing up for that. And it's because, for some reason, people find iPhones very, very attractive, and therefore you barely need to advertise them. They kind of sell themselves. There will be some feedback. Maybe people will say, well, I'd like a bigger screen, or I'd like something that doesn't break when I drop it on the floor, and so on. I want more memory or a better camera and so on there. We're never satisfied that we have completely got the product that people want. Besides, what people want will probably change. So marketing, as I say, is a very humble process. It's not imposing our will on the customer. It's listening to the customer and finding out what they want, build a product to suit, and then we are nearly guaranteed making a success of it. What, roughly speaking, is the stages in marketing? First of all, there's market segmentation. Nearly every market is not homogeneous. It's not uniform people within it. People different on age, sex, lifestyle, how wealthy they are, geography. And this tends to mean that instead of making one product, you probably make a number of products to suit different sectors. So if you were producing a pocket calculator, some people, kids at school, for example, will want a pocket calculator. It'd be ideal if it wasn't easy to break. If they're at junior school, they won't need a lot of complicated mathematical functions on it and the like. You might make it attractive to them by having cartoon characters or something on the cover. Other people, maybe in the financial industry, want a calculator with all sorts of bells and whistles on it that will work out discounted cash flow and annuities and all that kind of stuff. Some other people want a calculator which has got a little tape of paper coming out of it, so you can check what you've put into it and add it up and the like. So we've got different ages. We've got maybe different kind of lifestyles, if you like. There is the recreational school kid segment. There is the older, serious business section and so on. You can sell even, there might be a market for kind of gold-plated calculators, as there is allegedly a market for gold-plated iPhones and so on as well, appealing maybe to people's wealth. So we break up the market, we decide which segments we want to address. It could be that we think that the calculators for school kids are going to be so cheap that we're not going to be able to make much of a profit in it, and so we just don't bother with that, and we concentrate on the higher end, more clever type of pieces of machinery that may attract higher prices and a higher margin. Now, what we're doing when we say, well, I'm going to make this calculator attractive to school kids, or I'm going to make this calculator attractive to financial professionals and so on, what we have to do then is target that segment. We have to say this calculator is aimed at children, this calculator is aimed at professionals. And this targeting is known as positioning the product. And originally, positioning invented by a guy called McCarthy, he had 4 P's, McCarthy's marketing mix. Marketing mix is not like sales mix. Sales mix is where you say, I'm selling 2,000 units of product A and 5,000 units of product B. That's the sales mix. This has nothing to do with that. This is marketing mix. And specifically, McCarthy said you had 4 levers that you could adjust to make the product target, if you like, a particular sector. So there's the product itself, and we'll see examples of this. That's broadly features, the price, how you're going to promote it or advertise it, and where people are going to buy it. And then we have added on to this now, we have added on to it 3 other P's here, and this is for services. Now, services also got the product, the price, the promotion, and the place. Okay, so this is physical products. And these extra 4 that were put in here for services bring it up to 7 P's now for services. Because if you, let's say, go to a hotel, go on an airline, go to a restaurant, anything where there's an element of service involved, not just product, then the people who deliver the service are very important. When you're delivering a product, you often don't meet anyone who's to do with producing the product or designing it. You can buy products over Amazon. There's no human interaction whatsoever. But when you are buying a service, it's delivered by a waitress, a cabin attendant on a plane, a receptionist in a hotel. People are important. So is the process by which you can go about obtaining the service. Do you have to make appointments? And again, restaurants, some of them you make a reservation, some of them you don't. You have to queue up. But that becomes part of the marketing mix there, the process by which you obtain the service. And then there is physical evidence. Physical evidence necessary in some services when you book an airline flight. over the internet, you like to get an email, showing the flight you're on, its reference number and so on, as evidence that you've bought the service. It may not be delivered yet, but it's evidence that you have actually bought the service. This can be difficult in services because whereas you can show someone a product, if you're making pens, you can show them the product, and then they can decide, do I want to pay a certain price for that product? You can't do that with services so easily. You can't, in a way, so easily show people what sort of meal they're going to have. Obviously, you can show a photograph, but that doesn't say anything about what it's going to taste. You can show people the inside of the aeroplane, but that's not going to say very much about the level or the standard of service and punctuality and so on you get from the airline. So you may have to work hard to provide physical evidence that people have confidence that the service you're going to deliver is what they want and up to their standard. Now, looking briefly at the first of the 4 Ps, the one that relates to physical products. The product is the features. So a calculator, does it have, what buttons does it have on it? Does it require batteries? Is it solar powered? Does it have a printer? These are all features. Quality is part of product as well. So sometimes you just want a calculator to always kind of throw in your briefcase, and you're probably going to lose it, leave it on a train, leave it in an office somewhere. So you don't want to be paying a lot for quality. Other times you want a product which is of high quality. Maybe there's safety issues involved with it, and quality is part of the product description. Design, some things look very cool. Apple machinery, if you like, Apple products look really, really good, and it goes all the way to the packaging, which also looks really, really good. Very sleek, very cool, very good looking. People want that and seem to be willing to pay a premium for particularly good design. Brand, think about clothing. Think about, what putting a logo on the front of a t-shirt does to the price you can charge. So if you can put a logo of Lacoste or something there, then the price can go up, a multiple of times to a non-branded t-shirt. It may not be sensible, but people do respond to brands. They believe they're being fashionable. They believe the brand denotes certain quality, and there's certain design features and so on. And brand is a very, very important element to do with marketing and the product. And packaging. Think of the importance packaging plays in cosmetics and perfume. Every new perfume which is launched comes in a very intricate bottle. Usually a lot of money has gone into the packaging of that to make it an attractive product. I sometimes think the packaging costs more than the contents. Price. Price is the price level. Are we going to charge $10 for this or $15 for that? That's the price level. There's discounts. If somebody orders 10 or 20 or 100, are we going to bring down the price for bulk buys? There is the terms. Do we expect people to pay immediately? Are we going to give them 30 days credit, 3 months credit to encourage them to buy this product? And then there can be something called strategic pricing. Price skimming means you're going to the very high price. So think about, maybe you can't think back, but when flat screen TVs first came in, they were a very high price. But then as you kind of run out of people willing to pay 5,000, then you come down and you put the price at 4,000, you use those people up. Then you come down and you sell the product at 3,000. You gradually come down in price skimming, but skimming off the cream, if you like, of the pricing as you go on. Penetration pricing means go in at a very low price in the hope of generating a very high volume of sales. And if you go in and you get 80% of the market, that is a good way. If you remember back to Porter's 5 forces, one of the threats was a threat of entry. If you go in and grab 80%, and think of the kind of economies of scale that's likely to give you, this can be a disincentive for other people to come into the market, because you're such a big, dominant, efficient producer, that's 80%, it's going to be hard for them to make any sort of profit if they even manage to sell 20%, the remaining 20%. So go in with this killer low price to get a killer high market share. And then there is related product pricing. For example, inkjet printers and ink. I could go out and buy, almost certainly at the moment, an inkjet printer, for in pounds. I know what the price is there. Something like £60. And it wouldn't be up to Office type of hard, high volume production, but it's perfectly adequate for home. A colour inkjet printer for about 60. A month or two later, when the ink has run out, I go and want to replace the ink. I find it's about 50, or something very substantial. It's almost cheaper to throw the whole printer out and buy a new printer than to buy the ink. Now there, what the manufacturer is doing is they are hoping that once you have committed to the printer, then you are locked into the supply of ink, the consumables. They won't make much profit on the printer, but they will make a lot of profit on the follow-up services, whether it's consumables, training, maintenance, or whatever is going on there. So that is related product pricing. Promotion. Promotion is basically advertising. Advertising can be done on the television. It can be done in newspapers. Television hits a very broad audience. Newspapers, well, if you put it down to specialist magazines, you are narrowing the audience. But perhaps best of all is the internet. The internet is loved by advertisers because you can measure the response. You can measure how many people have looked at the advert and clicked on it. There's an element of self-selection. If you Google something, so if you Google mobile phones or something, they know you're interested in mobile phones. They're only going to address people who are already interested, whereas television addresses everybody who's watching. And very often it's set up so the advertiser only pays when you click on their advert and you click through maybe to the advertiser's site. So again, they takes a lot of the risk out of it, because I could produce a very expensive glossy TV advert and it has no effect at all on getting more people to express an interest in my product. And the internet has stolen a lot of advertising revenue from television and from the press. Sales promotion, that would happen typically in store. You might be given a little free sample of something to try in the hope you go and buy more. Personal selling is a sales representative, a salesman or a saleswoman, who comes and tries to persuade you to buy. It's universal in business to business. That's what the sales force does. It goes around customers trying to get them to buy. You only get it in business to consumer transactions if what you're buying is big, because that's the only way you pay the sales rep's wages. So if you go into a garage and say, I want to buy a car, you'll probably get a sales rep to persuade you to buy it. If you go into a supermarket for, a can of soup or something, you're not going to get a sales rep there encouraging you to buy the can of soup. And then there's public relations. Public relations is, for example, making charitable donations, sponsoring a local football team, anything of that sort. It's slightly short of paid for advertising, but gets your company's name kind of mentioned in the press, mentioned on television in a good way, so that people think favourably upon you. Push and pull promotion. push is where, if let's say you had a new chocolate bar, okay, and there's a shop, and it's a shop which sells chocolate. Push promotion is where you go to the shopkeeper and encourage the shopkeeper to stock this new chocolate bar. Pull promotion is where you encourage consumers to go to the shop and ask for this chocolate bar. So one, you push the product in, the other one, you pull the product out. And you need them both happen together. There's no point in having the stock in the shop if no customers heard about it, and there's no point in all the customers hearing about it if it hasn't been stocked in the shop. There'll only be disappointed customers. And finally, there is place. Where do you go to get the product? And the sort of things which can govern this is the length of the distribution chain. So we could go to manufacturer to consumer. That's known as direct marketing. This works very well on technical stuff like computers, because you can, in a way, perfectly define the product through writing and a way through pictures. You don't need to see a computer to make a sensible purchase. It's very short distribution chain, and it means that because there's no middlemen, only the manufacturer actually needs profit. So it's quite a cheap way of getting the product to the consumer. The longest way is manufacturer to wholesaler to retailer to consumer. Here, 3 people need profit, and by the time you get down here, it's going to be quite expensive. But what this is good at is, first of all, there are some things that consumers want to see, experience before they buy it. So clothing, for example. Some people do try direct marketing for clothing, and even though they show stuff on the internet, you think you've got the colour right, you have all the size guides and so on, when the product comes, an awful lot of consumers don't like it. They don't like the feel of the cloth, it doesn't quite fit right, and about 50% of that's sent back. It's a much more reliable way to buy clothing if you go to the local clothing store where you can try on the item, where you can feel the material and so on. It might be more expensive, but you'll be more confident leaving the shop that you have the right article. And then the types of goods and suitability of outlet here, I'll just say that if it's luxury goods, then what you would expect is an upmarket outlet. If you're selling luxury clothing, you would do that through some sort of boutique. You would not try to sell luxury clothing through a supermarket chain. If you wanted just a basic pair of jeans for everyday use, then you might be perfectly happy going to the supermarket to buy those. But you never think of going to a kind of luxury upmarket shop to buy a very basic pair of jeans, because the match is simply not there.